Hello, everybody. Mike from Southern California again, and you're on the mic. So, on today's episode, we're gonna talk a little bit about what happened towards the end of basically what we've been finding out over the last week in regards to the Rooster Teeth VP Michael Quinn, and at least some of the things that we have. I'm also going to give some observation on it that maybe not everybody may be picking up on. So here we go. So the main crux of the news, of course, is back on the 8th, um, Michael Quinn's wife walked into a police station and basically filed a police report that he had been, abusing her. Um, so the news came out, even though the news didn't come out till last week, that he was arrested, released, and then arrested again for um, for domestic abuse against his wife. Um, in the aftermath of that, of course, we hadn't heard of any. We hadn't heard until what we hadn't heard much of anything from Rooster Teeth. We still haven't heard anything aside from the fact that it was apparently confirmed by KXAN news in Dallas that he had been let go from. He was no longer employed with Rooster Teeth. But this update came, of course, days after the story broke, after Hirohei broke the story. Now, of course, in the when we were first hearing about this, people were wondering, well, why isn't this guy gone? And Vic was gone like that, over allegations. There weren't any police reports. There were just allegations. But this guy, at least supposedly early on, was was at least nothing was happening to him. He was still with the company. And then we get the update yesterday. Well, of course, this was first covered by Hirohei, as he covers a lot of Rooster Teeth and Ruby news. Um, I don't, really follow the company too much, except through him. But, they're following what's been going on with them of late because, some of the stuff that's going down in regards to, like, of course, and how it kind of loosely associates with Vic's situation. Um, but they were a story came out yesterday. There was an update to the article that KXAN did, in which um, in which Rooster Teeth did in fact let go Michael Quinn. Now, granted, he hasn't been convicted of anything yet. He hasn't been convicted of anything. He's just been arrested. He's out on bond. Um, but finally, we have heard that now now prior to KXAN prior to KXAN um, basically giving that update. Um, Hirohei had reported that there was somebody on Twitter by the name of Nat Carolina who had tweeted out that she had confirmed from, I guess, she had got confirmation that they had in fact let him go, albeit some of the details were sketchy in it. Like one of the things he was pointing out was they were not correctly utilizing using his correct title, which was VP of product and engineering, not marketing and engineering. So it did seem a bit. So it still seems a little sketchy, but and then they were kind of trying to say, "Hey, kick," in this tweet they were saying, "Hey, Rooster Teeth," or "Hey, Kick Vic, let's show them that we do have standards and that we won't stand for anything Vic or this Michael Quinn guy will do." As I was watching Hero Hayes coverage of it, and as I was, looking at the tweets and looking at his analysis, something crossed my mind there about it. it almost seems like they are trying to push, or they're trying to basically um, put Michael Quinn under the bus to push their own narrative against Vic. They don't seem to care about the fact that his wife and child were in danger from him, but they care more about the fact, hey, let's use this to stick it more to Vic. You know, that's one of the big problems with mainstream media right now. Is like there's too much power. I think they're gaining too much power of influence. That's why it's important to support a lot of the independent, the YouTubers like Hero Hey, like Yellow Flash, like even the smaller ones like myself and like DNA Crows and BP and Broly and Sen, and because we're not really, because people more independent are not as likely to fall prey to narratives. We're gonna look straight up at what the facts are. You know, my feeling is if it is, because we still haven't heard anything from Rooster Teeth themselves. We've only heard a couple confirmations. Have Somebody who kind of claims to have authority to say something on their behalf on Twitter and KXAN. Now, I would of course go more with KXN. XN is obviously a mainstream news source. It is as corrupt as many of them are. They still are preferable to somebody on Twitter. Okay. Um, you know, um, so yeah, so my general feeling is now this is my general feeling. Only if they have in fact let him go, the only reason they did was to make themselves not look like hypocrites. That's the only reason they let him go. You know, especially with the backlash they've gotten from the Vic situation, from a lot of the stuff that's going on internally, like the crunch time issues, you know, the game that they came out with not producing for them as much as they'd hoped. Their teeth had really just fallen. They're just falling, and their fandom, of course, is trying to keep them afloat by being propaganda machines. Um, Now, again, nothing is proven yet in regards to Michael Quinn. However, there is a police report now, where there wasn't one with Vic. There is an actual complaint who actually went to the police. There is actual evidence because I'm sure that they, had her, they basically took pictures of, because from what I understand, when she went in there, um, she was pretty beat up. I'm sure when they were taking her statement, they also took pictures and they have that evidence. Bottom, bottom line is, in my opinion, the only reason they let Michael Quinn go was again to save face. That's the only reason that they let him go. I mean, yes, he rightfully should. If he's found guilty, he rightfully should be fired at some point. When that's determined. But the way they treated Vic was wrong because there was no actual evidence there. People keep coming up with all these little things that don't amount to anything. Um, and with this guy, I'm sure if Hirohei and some other people hadn't started making noise about it, they would basically be trying to just tell them, hey, just go into hiding and just don't say anything, don't do anything. We'll get you out of this. But because a spotlight was shown on the company, a very negative spotlight, they had to do something. Now, granted, this is still all unconfirmed, so take it for what you think. Make your own mind up about it. But I do kind of agree with Hirohei in that some of this stuff does seem kind of sketchy. Um, they, but as I said, I don't know as much about Rooster Teeth. I don't really pay attention to them. I didn't even know about Crow or about Ruby until the beginning of this year. Basically, I I guess I might have seen the title here there before that, but you know I didn't really even know what it was until this whole thing evolved. So with that, that's all I got to say on that. So now, with that being said, let's get to another part of this episode. It's probably a bit more of a funner part for me. I always like doing this for you guys. Um, this day in history. So today is November the 25th. On this day in 1949, 70 years ago, DC Comics had released the first issue of The Adventures of Bob Hope. At the time, they were, of course, releasing celebrity type comics. The Adventures of Bob Hope ran for 109 issues. Cover date February, March of 1950 to, basically it went on sale, was released on this day in 1949, and continued as a bi-monthly comic until late 1967, early 1968. So that was so, and I'm in 49. Then we move ahead to 1992. On this date in 1992, Walt Disney Feature Animation released the film Aladdin. Of course, the movie starred Robbie Benson and Robin Williams. Um, basically um, telling the story from 1001. And exactly 3 years later, 1995, um, the Aladdin the cartoon, the TV series, which had been airing which had aired as part of Toon Disney, as well as many of the Disney afternoon blocks that were around at the time. Um, they would their series would come to an their series of first run syndication would come to an end on this day in 1995. Um, so exactly 3 years apart, the movie was released, and then the TV series would come to an end in 1995. Then, on this date in 2005, um, among some of the other happenings on on the November 25th, 2005 edition of Friday Night SmackDown, um, among many other things. Juventud Guerrera would defeat Nunzio for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. Um, Juventud having been a former WCW Cruiserweight title holder as well, would beat Nunzio, a former ECW star, under the name um, I guess under his own name, Nunzio. um, so yeah, Juventud Guerrero would beat Nunzio in for the WWE Cruiserweight title on this date in 2005 on the edition of Friday Night SmackDown. Then in 2011, we have um, we have a few pieces of news from the anime world. On this date in 2011, um, the film Children Who Chases Lost Voices was released on DVD and Blu-ray in Japan on this date in 2011. The DVD Blu-ray release of the Children Who Chase Lost Voices on this date in 2011, as well as some other things are, of course, happening. Um, Also on this date in 2011, the Tales of the Abyss was released. Um, Tales of the Abyss was released in Europe on this date in 2011. And finally, the Japanese light novel series Maho Senso was started its run on this date in 2011. So the children who chased lost voices had their DVD Blu-ray release on this date in 2011. Um, Tales of the Abyss was released in Europe on this date in 2011, and Maho Senso started its run via Media Factory Publishing on this date in 2011. So with that, guys, if you want to check the links below, if you want to contact me directly, my Twitter handle will be down there. You can always DM me or comment on my videos or tweets um, or retweets. Um, as you also know, I'm promoting a bunch of different dub companies. Because remember, Funimation's not the only game in town. There are other dub companies out there you can support. You should check them out. Check out their works. And if you like their voice actors, get them invited cons. And how you get them invited cons is you contact, in a very polite and respectful manner, you contact those cons and say, hey, I want to see this person or whoever grabs your attention. I want to see them at your con. I want to meet them. Also, I'm still promoting, of course, Vic's GoFundMe, the Ortiz family GoFundMe, and Tugs into Go-Go, which will be ending I guess will be ending um, this week. I believe will be ending on Saturday. Saturday will be the last day. So, um, as always, guys, never feel like you have to donate. Never feel pressure to donate. Um, because as much as I'm sure they all appreciate your help, they don't want to see anybody go bankrupt over it. If you are able to, and it's on your heart to do so, please consider donating. If you've already donated, please consider donating again. And if you cannot donate, still help out the cause by sharing the link. And, because you never know. Maybe there's somebody in your circle of friends who might be willing to help. After all, sharing is scary. You never know. It doesn't hurt to ask, right? Um, And with that, if you like this content, please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. I I will generally reply, long of course as respect, polite and civil and respectful. Um, and with that, guys, I will see you tomorrow for the anime convention preview. Bye.